Okay.
Hello, 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 and welcome once again to Take Your Pick. I am your moderator, Chris Piuma, and I've assembled a team of scary panelists, and obelisks, and basilisks to ask them to pick out some of their favorite horror movie monsters. Now, Wikipedia defines monster as, quote, often a type of grotesque creature whose appearance frightens and whose powers of destruction threaten the human world's social or moral order. But another learned source, the monster at the end of this book, refers to monsters and defines them as, quote, lovable furry old Grover. So there's some wiggle room. Our panelists are going to take turns picking a horror movie monster and explain why they picked it. Once a panelist picks a monster, no one else gets to pick it. And if there's a question about whether something even counts as a horror movie monster, well, as your moderator, I get final say. We'll go 3 rounds, after which each of our panelists will have to spend a week locked inside my crazy old uncle's abandoned mansion with their 3 spooky new friends.
I need a new list.
And speaking of our panelists, let me introduce our panelists now in the randomly selected order that they will be picking. First up, from a part of our Scare-itage, please join me in giving a big boo hello and welcome to Sarah Chamberlain.
I win.
But at what cost? Then, creeping out after 1,000 years of icy slumber from the Fiasco Brothers Watch a Movie, Sean Frost.
Hello.
Solid. Next we have a comedian who was just kidding about eating your brains, Sarah Walsh.
Grr, arg.
I like how he moonwalked out of the picture.
I'm not coordinated, guys.
And we've got a film critic whose film series No Future features movies with the creepiest monsters of all, children. It's Angelo Muredda.
Hi, Angelo.
Hey, everybody.
Hey there. And finally, the friendly ghost who haunts all our dreams, the other half of a part of our Scare-itage, Adam Clarke.
There's only one thing wrong with the Clarke baby. It's alive.
You're scooping me. Scooping me.
Now, we'll get to that. Now, you do get to go before him after all. Normally as your host, I would take my picks last. But here's the thing. Not watch horror. Maybe you, dear viewer, do know a thing about horror movie monsters. If you're watching this live and you want to comment on any of our panelists' choices, please do. If you entered into the comment field next to this on YouTube or on Facebook, then you then we'll incorporate it into the show. And that would be great. That's why we do this live. But scare cut, jump cut. Sarah, what is your first pick?
Oh my god, I hate going first. Okay. I'm going to come swinging completely unexpected out of the gate, and say the Cryptkeeper.
Oh, wow.
And he's been in some movies. Okay, there are a couple Tales from the Crypt movies. And although I haven't seen those for so long, I can't even remember if he's in them. But
He is.
thank you. The Cryptkeeper is like, he's like many children like myself, their first association with a monster that's also like fun, and you kind of want to be their friend. And like I had seen the Nightmares on Elm Street and the Child's Plays and stuff, but those villains were fun, but they still terrified me to the core. Whereas the Cryptkeeper, on like the other hand, was disgusting and odd and uncomfortable, but he almost felt like a safe space between the episodes, which again, as a child, were genuinely upsetting or scary to me. And it was a show that you shouldn't have been watching as a kid. So everything was so heightened and odd and sensational. And he was this like great grounding piece within those episodes. And he was despite everything being entirely like, everything involving him was so entirely macabre, he was also able to lighten the mood. And he made like a friend out of monsters, and I think that's an important thing.
All right, the Cryptkeeper.
Awesome.
I can't imagine anyone else has any opinions about it on this panel, but let's find out.
Never heard of him.
None more lovable. Oh man, it's gotten to the point where on It's Just a Show, coming from a previous podcast, I will invent scenarios for the Cryptkeeper, and I will test Chris by smothering a fake scenario in with actual things that happened on the Tales from the Crypt show and movies, just to see if like what really happened is so outlandish that he doesn't know.
Because I didn't grow up with the Crypt Keeper. I watched the opening credit sequence, and then I switched it off because, again, too scary. But in fact, it wasn't until we started doing this with Adam that I realized or found out that the Crypt Keeper is a boy, which is not what I assumed. If it was going to have any gender at all, I definitely did not think. Yeah, it might have been the hair. I'm not sure.
And like his voice done by John Kaser is just like he's the coolest guy, and it's so much fun. Like he had so much character and life to that puppet.
Yeah, that was the thing I loved about the Crypt Keeper, is that he genuinely seemed to be alive, and as such, because he was weirdly cute, I really felt like he was my friend.
I felt like ultimately he didn't want you to be that scared because he would make little jokes to kind of ease you in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's sort of campy, right?
He would often be like cooking someone in a pot or something. He would say
Often.
Oh, my absolute favorite is the one of the best Crypt Keeper episodes. That's true because his genitals rotted off years ago.
Genitals aren't gender, Adam.
True. That's old school. I don't want to go all J.K. Rowling here. Always a mistake. Never go full J.K. But
the real monster was her intolerance.
It was. I just recall there's an episode that I love called "What's Cooking" that stars Christopher Reeve and Judd Nelson, and it opens with the Crypt Keeper using he's complaining to the chef about the poor quality of his food, and he uses a wine opener, a corkscrew, to pluck out his eyes. What a scamp.
My favorite was always when he'd wear like awesome outfits. Like it'd be like a summer themed episode, or like it'd be a beach. Then he'd be wearing like sunglasses and like a cool like sun hat. He'd be lounging. It was so fun.
I used to read as a kid. I read reprints of the comics, all three of the horror comics from EC. So you had the Crypt Keeper, and I think the Vault Keeper,
and the Old Witch.
The Old Witch.
The Old Witch.
And I loved those. So when the show came out, I was just the right age to not be old enough to see it, but I did anyway, and loved it.
All right. Well, we will probably someday. Whoa, sorry about that. We will probably someday do an entire Crypt Keeper episode, but I think we need to move on. So, Sean, it is your turn to talk about a more different monster. Go for it.
Well, I think I'll go with one that's still kind of corny because I love that. The best thing to me about some monsters is just how not frightening they are in any way at all, and how everyone involved in the production seemed to be just having a lot of fun. And who says that more than Vincent Price?
Yay.
So my first pick is from the movie The Tingler. It is the Tingler. The Tingler is a sort of bug that lives in everybody's spine, and when you feel fear, it grows. So the reason you scream is that when you scream, the Tingler shrinks back down. So part of the plot of the movie concerns this mute woman who cannot scream. And so that, if you cannot scream, the Tingler gets giant and crushes your back. And being a Vincent Price movie, of course, it was all an elaborate plan so he could kill his wife, because what else is Vincent Price going to do in a movie? And in fact, that's like, I don't know, 70% of the Tales from the Crypt plots were spouse-icide. So, I feel like it ties in. One of the reasons I picked this one, though, is like a lot of us, I had childhood trauma. And one of my very few good memories of my dad was that I turned this on HBO, and he walked in pretty much just as soon as I started. And he was like, "What's this?" I'm like, "I don't know, some cheesy Vincent Price movie." He's like, "Oh yeah." He sits down and we start watching it, and we're totally captivated. And at that point, we would make homemade kind of white trash nachos. We just put a bunch of bland corn chips on a plate and sprinkled shredded cheese on them and nuke it for a while. And we were in a hurry, and we go and we do that, and we rush back and we start eating them. We're about halfway through. We're so wrapped up in this movie. About halfway through, we realized that the cheese was moldy. This is my good memory. Tingler.
Oh, dear.
I totally get that though, like associating like something with something that happened during that time. Like I remember one time, it's still kind of monster related. My dad and I were playing Resident Evil one night really late, and all of a sudden my dad goes into the kitchen and he screams at the top of his lungs, and I go running in to look, and there's this giant spider on the floor. And it was like, I'll always remember that, because then we had to fight like a real live monster, and we had just been fighting monsters on screen.
Sarah, am I your dad?
This is so much more than a monster podcast.
Oh, fabulous. All right. Well, the Tingler. I was worried for a moment that you were going to pick Vincent Price.
Yeah.
I mean, he's
That's
been
where I thought you were
monsters,
going.
and
Yeah.
he may actually show up.
All right. All right. We'll see. Sarah, other Sarah. Sarah with a W.
I'm actually really relieved that other Sarah didn't pick what I wanted to pick, because we joked about it before, and I'm genuinely scared that if we pick the same thing, we'll fight.
Oh, we will.
I have really weak arms. Do we have to? Okay, for my first pick, it was something somewhat extremely dear to me, because I have, let's see if I can pronounce this properly, coulrophobia, otherwise known as fear of clowns, because I had a dad that let me watch whatever I wanted for no reason, and incidentally watched it at like 5. So for my pick, it was Pennywise the Dancing Clown.
Awesome.
I think that the dancing is the most concerning part. I don't know what it is, but like if he was just a regular clown, I would be frightened, but not too frightened. But the fact that he's jovial about it, like, I don't like this. My pick was based on a number of things. One, I kind of like that, like the Cryptkeeper, he's a little bit silly. Like, so you have an evil clown that's trying to kill everybody, but he's punning in the middle of things and making knock-knock jokes and asking if your refrigerator is running. Second reason for this being it's Tim Curry, and Tim Curry will never not be an attractive man to me. That's an issue for a different day. There we go.
I mean, he's smoking there. That's
You know what the weird thing is that I think
There
I
we
can
go.
get beyond the clown and just see the Tim Curry.
Yeah, exactly. No, I get that.
Just like Congo.
It's exactly like Congo.
Don't eat my sesame cake.
This conversation reminds me that the new version of Pennywise kind of looks like Nicole Kidman for some reason. I don't know if anybody else noticed that. The Bill Skarsgård version, he's just doing Nicole Kidman for some reason.
What I found
I can't unsee this.
what I found most off-putting about the new It is how much the Skarsgård It looked like one of the Animaniacs.
He does, yeah.
He's like not scary at all, unlike old Tim Curry.
Okay.
Apropos of nothing, I just have to share this. One of my favorite critics who was involved, it was from a website that was called tv.org, which was great. I think that's where Jason Snell first showed up on the internet. And there was a bad review of a sitcom Chevy Chase was, not Chevy Chase, Tim Curry was in. Sorry, we were talking about Chevy Chase earlier. A different breed of monster.
Yeah.
And there's a bad review of a sitcom Tim Curry was doing. Steve Carell was also in it in an early role. And the headline for the review was Heaping Gobs of Curry.
That's Upsetting but wonderful.
Pertinent to our previous pick, our devoted watcher Kadau wants to remind you that Vincent Twice is also an option. All right, that was Pennywise. Excellent choice. Angelo, it is your turn to tell us about the good monster.
Yeah, I am so honored to be the fourth person randomly selected. In the interest of not being scooped by Adam, who has already name dropped this one, I'm going to rejigger my order a little bit and go with the Davis baby from Larry Cohen's movie It's Alive as my first pick. I couldn't not pick a murderous baby somewhere for this list as my monster of choice, given I did a whole program at the Royal. While we were still seeing movies, I did a whole program at the Royal Cinema that was like monstrous children and evil spawn and are they evil or are they misunderstood? And this is the ultimate in are they evil or are they just misunderstood? Larry Cohen's movies always start with these really high concepts, and they're very kind of goofy high concepts, but he takes them very seriously at the same time as he's having fun. And this time the concept is like, what if your baby was a homicidal maniac? And so this baby is born, and there it is. It's monstrous, and it rips through everyone in the delivery room with the exception of its mother. And it falls to the father, who is like a little bit sympathetic, but not that sympathetic, to basically figure out what to do with the baby. Do I hunt my own child down, or do I offer love and affection? And so it becomes this like weird allegory for like a million floating signifiers. Like, is the baby this like manifestation of Reagan era paranoia? Is it like created by drugs or pollution or like the rage in the air in America? Or is he just like a real bastard? Like, is he just like a manifestation of the parents' psychic rage come alive? And I won't spoil what happens, but it is a goofy model of a baby, and it gets goofier in the subsequent sequels, which I highly recommend. It Lives Again and Island of the Alive, I believe is what the third one is called. They're both strangely good and fun times, but by all means, watch It's Alive if you haven't.
Oh yes, It's Alive. It's Alive is great. One of my favorite things is that the Davis baby attacks a milkman as one of his first victims, and yet all of this is occurring while a tremendous and one of the last Bernard Herrmann scores is playing.
Yeah, and it's good. Like, it's really good.
Yes, that's Larry Cohen in a nutshell. Is that there's the absurdity but the quality.
Yeah, and
Was
like
that one
one
of
is
your
not
picks,
traded
Adam?
for the other.
Not at all. Not at all. Very good pick, Angelo.
Yeah, good pick.
Fantastic. All right. Well, that's a murderous baby. I think that is our youngest monster yet. But let's see if that first place pole position can stand with TV's Adam Clarke's first pick.
Well, what I had to choose is some creatures who are known for being destructive. They are green. They are mean. I am speaking, of course, of the critters. You might be saying, hey, the critters aren't green, but rest assured, they made a ton of money. So they are rolling in green. Now, the critters are a delight. I've posted a picture here of the critters hanging out with one of their many celebrity friends.
You're going to have to give me a few seconds to get that.
No worries. That'll pay off in dividends. The critters are beloved. One of the things I like is that they can do anything. They can attack on their own. They can grow to gigantic size, or even better, all thousands of them will gather and form a gigantic carnivorous ball that leaves twitching skeletons behind. The critters, there we go. There's a critter with Leonardo DiCaprio. They are adorable. They're strangely cat-like, the Krites. And the best part about the critters is not that they are mindless creatures, but they are, in fact, in the lore of the Critters movies, super villains. They are criminals who are constantly being put into space jail. And the only thing they like is having fun and wreaking havoc. And you know what? I love them to pieces. Critters. Got to go with the critters every time. The Krites.
All right.
So
the
good.
critters.
So good.
Totally Shocked.
I am actually. I thought he was going for another one he loves, but
I thought something different was coming from that, but that was still delightful.
Just a reminder, ghoulies are still on the table.
there we go.
All right. Let's not spoil future rounds. Excellent. The critters. Well, again, if you're watching this live, feel free to come in and give us a comment and we'll put it up on the screen. And before we do our second round, because again, I don't know nothing about no ghosts. Adam has also shared with me this picture of beloved mascot of horror, the Cryptkeeper.
I went through so many Cryptkeeper pictures before I just settled on a generic one.
I feel like the caption for this one is just "wish you were beer," but then a maniacal laughter.
You have to put that heavy emphasis, right? It's like, I wish you were beer.
Oh no, it would be. There's nothing to beer but beer itself.
All right, new plan. When this is
Okay,
done, we open our own
brilliant.
bar, and that's the tagline.
Jan Kassir works as a barback.
All right. Excellent. Well, we go into round 2 where the points are doubled.
Chris,
We get
this
points?
group needs you more now than ever to keep us in check because we could just go on.
Once you break out the Cryptkeeper, this is what happens.
I know. Oh, believe me, I know, Adam. I know. Sarah, Sarah Chamberlain, you brought the Cryptkeeper upon us. And so what are you going to do to make up for that?
All right. Well, my last pick was a fun one, but now we're going to go the complete opposite route of fun. And I'm picking Pyramid Head.
Woo! Shocker.
Let me send my picture. Because although I would love to pad my picks with video game monsters, I can choose Pyramid Head because he's in 2 movies. So, and this guy is terror. Oh yeah, and also, you don't even need to put that picture up because I've got a mascot with me. Let's go 360 degrees.
There we go.
This is the monster. This guy is terror incarnate. Okay, he is the manifestation of hate and repression and every negative feeling you could have, and he only exists because you brought him on yourself, which makes him one of the hardest enemies to destroy, which is awesome. It's so futile fighting off Pyramid Head, and he's got the raw masculine power of a Jason Voorhees, but the relentless, unyielding determination of the Shape. He's all of the good stuff rolled up into one. And he's honestly one of the coolest creatures ever, and also one of the last creatures I'd ever want to stand off against. You always think you could win, but not against Pyramid Head. I love how super padded that suit is in that picture.
Oh, fantastic. What's Pyramid Head's big move?
He has a huge giant cleaver, and he swings it at you.
But it doesn't do anything with the big pyramid head.
No.
Okay.
Pyramid.
Well, I mean, maybe in the X-rated scenes, but
All right.
Oh boy.
Kids leave the room.
I used to work with a guy who would go all out every Halloween and just make these elaborate costumes. And he came as Pyramid Head one time.
awesome.
And it is one of the great injustices of The Office that he did not win that year because it was amazing.
I'm sure most people were like, "What even is this?"
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. What are you doing?
I've dressed up as a Silent Hill nurse a few years for Halloween, but never
I
delved.
did
with-
that.
Oh, of course you did, Sarah. You copier.
Sorry. In hopes nobody got it. I got excited.
Michael, of course, notes that Pyramid Head is ripped, and Jared chimes in with the fact that Pyramid Head, the favorite cosplay of Jack dudes who aren't lazy enough to go with something from 300.
Yep.
Okay, so that's the bare minimum.
That's what you need. All right, that was Pyramid Head, and that leaves us with Sean, who gave us the Tingler from the Tingler. Which eponymous monster are we getting this time?
I could, but I think I have a couple of those, but I think I want to do to do a more, well, still kind of silly one, but this time in full color. So it's completely different, and it's in Japanese. So no Vincent Price. I'm sorry. And this is the Kasa-obake from Yokai Monsters Spook Warfare.
Ooh.
Yeah, and if you're wondering what a Kasa-obake is, you're not alone. It's if you start reading and watching a lot of Japanese stuff, you'll notice it here and there. If you play, as Chris pointed out to me earlier, if you play TKO on Jackbox, you'll have maybe played as Kasa-obake. It's basically an umbrella with there he is with the tongue and the one eye and the one little leg. The thing that fascinates me so much about the Kasa-obake is it doesn't seem to do anything except like lick people. There's a recurring thing I've seen of like it'll lick someone on a cold night and they'll turn around and it's gone. But the more I looked into it, it doesn't actually exist in folklore. It just sort of showed up in art at a certain point. And the theory is, one of the theories is that it sprang from a desire to put more and more monsters into some drawings and combine that with the notion that items that have been around for a long time become animate. So this is, maybe it's just a really old umbrella that gains sentience and licks people. But Spook Warfare is an amazing movie. If you haven't seen it, it's thoroughly delightful. It's basically a movie about a ancient Babylonian demon possessing a governor and making him do horrible things, and the kappa, kind of a water monster that lives on the governor's property, wants to drive it out. So it winds up eventually enlisting every monster in Japan to drive out this invader. It's fun.
This is an older drawing of the monster. Super cute.
It's
That's
Aren't they adorable?
It might be the cuddliest monster yet.
Without
looks like-
having...
Are you kidding me? The critters.
That's true. The critters, aka the Krites, are very cat-like, which makes them ultra lovable.
Yeah.
As Cadell points out, the leg lamp from A Christmas Story has come to life.
Fair.
All right, excellent. So that's not actually a much folklore. I mean, that's what I've heard about that. It's the only thing I know about it is that it is from Japanese folklore.
Yeah, but no one can seem to point to a story that it came from.
Oh, all right.
It's more of it just started showing up in artwork. So
All right, excellent. Well, that's interesting. Sarah Walsh, you gave us Pennywise. So are you going to give us another sexy Tim Curry monster?
Not quite. Okay, right now I'm very much stuck on the idea of the lamp, like the leg lamp coming to life. Like, we'll get past it. For my second pick, keeping with the ridiculous silliness, Bad Milo from Bad Milo. For those of you who haven't seen it, it's about a man who combines his work stress and his family stress, and he makes a monster in his butt that comes out and kills people. I think that what I liked about Bad Milo is that he essentially looks like the baby dinosaur from Dinosaurs if it were microwaved. So it's got this kind of endearing cuteness to it, but also horrifying. Like, look at that. he's trying to nurture it like a father because he doesn't know how to deal with his butt demon. Which I'm kind of hoping is the last thing that I say in this life. So if I die, please see to it that that was on my tombstone. I would also like to point out that this film combines both Britta and Garrett from Community in one.
Very nice.
It's kind of like the Davis baby crossed with the Lyle from Basket Case.
That's true.
What
I
is-
just like how like the surgical procedure officially like in the movie is to remove what they think is a lump, but then they're like, nah, that's a demon. I don't know why that gave me just endless joy, but it did. Thank you, Jared.
And Michael, keeping it classy, this one's for all the academics out there. Very good. Very good.
Yes and no.
That's
Yes and no.
When you first said like right, the first sentence you said was something about butt demon, and then I was like, or no, you said like it came from the butt, and then I was like, did she say butt? There's no way she said butt. I'm just gonna wait and hear this out. And I was like trying to think of all the words that might have sounded like butt, but no, it was that.
You should see
But I said no, it's a demon that lives on a boat.
all right. Fabulous choice. Really making us think about the fundamentals. Jared's still helping.
Jared, I don't know Jared, but I kind of want to ask him to marry me.
That probably won't happen. Angelo.
Well, it is a hard act to follow, and so I will not try to follow it, but will instead offer up the Borg Queen from Star Trek First Contact, who is maybe a controversial pick, sort of on the line of monsterdom. But she appears in Star Trek First Contact as like this witchy, thirsty, horny, weird, like glistening cyborg creature. She's like a human, not quite torso. She's like a head and a neck that's attached to this like robotic dominatrix gear type robot cyborg. And my main memory of her from when I saw this when I was like, I don't know, I must have been like 11 years old when I first saw this in the theater, was that she was always wet. Like she makes the ship humid and she's always like moist and is always like coming up closely to Picard and Data's faces to try to seduce them. And like there's something vaguely kinky about her and strange and interesting about this like she's sort of like the queen bee, or I guess the ant queen of this organization, but she looks nothing like the other Borg. She's got this kind of like hyper stylized aesthetic, like New York Fashion Week sort of style about her, or like Met Ball sort of style about her that has always stuck out compared to some of the other Borg. And she's always just stuck with me as one of the like best designed of these like one-off Star Trek villains. And they tried to recreate her in Voyager, but they never quite got the moistness of her skin right. She was a little too normal when they recreated her on Voyager.
I apologize. I'm in the middle of looking for an image, and the Star Trek.
Find another one.
The StarTrek.com one. Did you pass one along? Because the one
did,
that
yeah.
Oh, all right. Let me look at that one.
I mean, you don't have your action figure of the Borg Queen
I
ready?
don't.
Just right there.
No,
Oh yeah,
so
that'll
sad.
work.
What you could
That'll
do
work.
is you could just take a Cenobite and then spray it with water, and that too could act as the Borg Queen.
I tried to go with the photo that made her look her wettest, so I hope that she is at some point. There are plenty of drier ones, but
I was
we really
looking-
need to get
I
that
mean,
person.
sort
that
of
was such a
imagine
thing
a
back then.
sexy xenomorph.
Yeah,
Oh, there you go. Yeah, like
Yeah, there's a
Xenomorph,
bit of
Cenobite,
sexy
Borg
Xenomorph.
Queen.
I was
Yeah, just
looking.
put some lipstick on that.
I was looking for one with her
Oh, yeah.
torso.
There we go.
But that was at StarTrek.com or whatever the official site is, and you can't grab those images real easy.
No.
Certainly not while flailing around trying to direct and host a live show.
I
No, I
really
think like back like like what you were saying about her, there were so many, creatures like that, like the humanoid creatures that would be all slimy for some reason. That was a big thing for a while.
The
Slimy
80s were
monster.
the era of slime. and you see a tail end of it in the 90s too. So
Moisture.
I think a big component, aside from the wetness, I think the biggest component of why the Borg Queen worked so well in the movie and not on Voyager is that the Voyager didn't get Alice Kriege.
Yeah.
Her performance is amazing. And I mean, saying that is sort of like saying oxygen helps us breathe. But, Alice Kriege is great. And having her be the Borg Queen really made that a character that worked despite the silliness of all of it.
So Jared says the only time Star Trek went for sexy and succeeded. Are we all in agreement on this?
I don't know. Every time William Shatner took his shirt off.
Every time Riker sat down.
Do you remember the sexy shirt that Kirk wore once?
Oh, the one that has like the folds in it?
The folds? Yeah.
That's to hide his weight gain.
Yeah. The one that's like, look at this specific part of my chest, which is not flabby.
I have not been going to craft services.
I think you're all forgetting about the Doctor from Voyager.
Indisputably the hottest, yeah.
I think you're all forgetting about the triples.
Yeah.
Or somebody's sexy.
I mean, they clearly fuck.
Yeah. Very hot if you're in the 70s bushes.
All right. We're done. We're going to move on to Adam's second pick after the crits. The Krites.
Yes, the Krites, one of my favorites. Well, you know what? I also believe, the Krites are fun-loving. The Krites live for joy. But, we're more than just joy. We need something else. We need something dark. We need to explore our more horrible impulses, which is why I've chosen Pumpkinhead.
Ooh.
Yes, Pumpkinhead is a terrific monster. He was designed by Stan Winston, who gave us the Alien Queen as well as the Predator. And Pumpkinhead is, it's funny, there's so many sequels to Pumpkinhead, but there's only one good Pumpkinhead movie. But it's a really perfect self-contained story. And Pumpkinhead is a vengeance demon that Lance Henriksen calls up when his son is accidentally killed by fun-loving teens. And you then have the fact that the Pumpkinhead starts to resemble him more and more, and you realize part of the Pumpkinhead's moist appeal, because the picture I've chosen is very moist indeed, but yes, part of Pumpkinhead's moist appeal is that his face is loosely based on the face of Lance Henriksen. And you can see it.
Yeah,
Totally can.
it's in there.
But yeah,
Unless you're looking for it.
But Stan Winston basically used like all of his ideas. It's like, oh, there'll be a little bit of Predator here, a little bit of the Alien Queen there, and he kind of came up with his best monster for this like little obscure movie that, again, I think really delivers even now.
All right, Pumpkinhead.
That's a great one.
Awesome.
That's terrific.
I could have chosen the old witch from Pumpkinhead as well, Ed Harley.
Everybody should know that Chad is continuing to talk about sexy Star Trek. We're not yet talking about sexy pumpkin spice latte head or whatever that was.
Pumpkin spice was my favorite Spice Girl.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Pumpkinhead. Fun choice. Terrifying picture. All right, we have one more round of this, which is going to be very exciting. So for round 3, everything to play for with this round. To find out which monster is the most monster that monstered, we're going to go back to Sarah Chamberlain, who has the Cryptkeeper and Pyramid Head. Who are you gonna bring in to finish that menage?
Get my picture up here. Boom.
Menage.
I'm going with a very prolific 8-movie-long hero. Leprechaun.
Yes.
Amazing.
Not only because I've recently binged all 8 movies over the last like 2 weeks, but because Leprechaun is a shamefully underrated movie monster.
Hear, hear.
Like, you know, in the horror community, people know who he is, but he deserves to be like right up there with other memorables like Robert Englund and that. Like Robert Englund playing Freddy Krueger. Like Warwick Davis gives such a good performance as Leprechaun in even the worst of the franchise movies that are practically unwatchable if it weren't for his performance. And like overall though, the Leprechaun franchise is, I'd say, more good than bad. There, I said it.
You are right.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's more good than bad. And even in Leprechaun Returns, Lyndon Porco, who replaces Warwick Davis and is also a Canadian actor, so watch out, a part of our Scare-itage episode like 153. It's like they give such a good performance. He's such a good character to run with, and in at least in all of the 6 Davis ones, the Leprechaun's like wit and creativity when it comes to kills never seems to run dry. He's scary and ruthless and totally unforgiving, but also like hilarious and super likable. And the fact that there are literally no rules regarding this character is my favorite thing. Like the way to kill him and the way he resurrects in every single film is completely different and goes completely unexplained. Like half of the movies he's just back. Like they don't even try to tell you why he's there. And it's just fantastic. Like you really just have to suspend your disbelief and just have fun with it. They're awesome.
Excellent. Does anybody ever find and take his Lucky Charms?
Oh, endlessly. Like you start to feel bad for him, honestly.
Yeah.
You really start to feel bad for that guy because he's just kind of a weird, quirky dude who wants to like sit there and like touch the stuff he owns a lot, and then people just keep taking it from him. But then the best part is too. Yeah, and he's not completely sympathetic though, because it's like, oh, he's just trying to get his stuff back. But half the time, like even when he gets it back, he'll still kill you because he's just a jerk.
All right. Well, this has turned into a Leprechaun support group, which is fantastic.
I have but one thing to say, which is, I want me shilling.
Like the first one, I liked the first one, and then I saw the second one, and it was like,
Oh,
this is just above and beyond sadistic glee.
And then the third one is the best installment.
yes.
So good.
The Leprechaun is one of those rare movies where the first one is like, you can skip the first one, but the sequels are a delight.
Yes. Except by far the worst one is In Space, but it's still got some really.
But it's got some great moments, like when the Leprechaun
Great
becomes really big, and he looks down, he opens up his pants, and he looks down at his own penis, and he goes, "Oh, big is good."
I mean, and that's not including Leprechaun Origins, which we'll pretend doesn't even exist.
Let's
So-
not even talk about
No,
that.
I've
Let's
never heard
instead
that.
talk about how in Leprechaun 3, somebody gets leprechaun blood in them, and they become a wereprechaun.
Wereprechaun is so good. And all that entails is like growing like a cool kind of leprechaun beard and like talking with an Irish accent in riddles and rhyme.
It's sort of like one of the Howling franchise, but good.
All right. Well, Leprechaun. I'm learning so much today. Sean, you have given us the Tingler and Kasa-obake. What else shall we hear about?
It doesn't get better. I'm just going to say it. I'm old and I like old things. So I cannot lie. I like the Tabanga. They tried to burn it with a mighty fire, but it did no good. So the movie it came from is From Hell It Came. And it belongs to a cycle of really regrettable movies around the mid-century, honestly 30s to about mid-century, where it was sort of like, hey, Polynesian islands, yes, and making things about that. And they're all very much the same. But the Tabanga is such a stupid monster that it's delightful. It's like the builder of the Tabanga suit was like, the Tabanga comes from a tree, so I have to make it really wooden. So it looks like a cartoonish sort of sculpt, but it can't move. So you see it here carrying the woman. There's a cut scene where it walks up behind her, the film jumps, and suddenly she's in its arms because the Tabanga cannot bend. It's glorious. It is one of my favorite stupid monsters, and it's like they put a lot of effort. Like, I've seen some terrible 50s monsters that no one, it looks like someone stuck a sucker on a garbage bag or threw a carpet over somebody and called it good. They put effort into this thing, but no one during the process thought it should move.
Now, the funny thing about the Tabanga is that it's the least wooden actor in that movie.
Yes! Ziga!
And you picked all of the cutest enemies. They're like, I love them.
Treebeard from the Black Lagoon, indeed.
I really wish like Todd McFarlane would put out a $180 Tabanga figure. And the great part is it would need moving parts.
Oh, very good. Yeah, that is a great costume. That looks like a lot of fun. Sarah with a W. You're the second one, so I have to think of you as other Sarah.
Well, now I have to rewrite my name so that there's actually a silent W somewhere in the middle.
Sweara. You had Pennywise and Bad Milo. Ooh, what's gonna be added to that?
All right, for the hat trick, we are going with Brundlefly from The Fly.
Yeah.
The Jeff Goldblum version.
You're sticking with sexy.
Yeah.
In a confusing way, because with Jeff Goldblum, I'm not sure if he got this part because a lot of his mannerisms are similar to that of a fly, or if all of his mannerisms are similar to a fly because he did this movie.
Whoops.
Very
There
sexy. Very sexy, that Pumpkinhead.
There he is. Sexy Goldblum. I enjoyed the progression of this. Generally. Yeah, I feel like Jeff Goldblum somewhere just shuddered and he was like, somebody represented me poorly. It could just be me that thinks about Jeff Goldblum, but okay. I enjoyed the progression of things. Like, it's very much a mad scientist and something goes horribly, horribly wrong. And initially it kind of looks impressive. Initially he starts out and he has all these superhero attributes almost. He's super agile. He can climb walls. He's definitely heightened senses. And then it just starts to go horribly, horribly wrong because it's a Cronenberg movie. So nothing happy can happen. And, I don't think I have a picture of the end scenes, but he goes from being handsome, sexy Goldblum to being the definition of Cronenberg.
Yes. All right. Well, that's probably for the best that we don't have an image of that on the screen. Then.
The Borg Queen again.
Exactly.
My favorite moment in that movie is when he's looking at the museum of pieces of his flesh that have fallen off. And he's like, what's that? I don't know.
Yeah, like we were saying in the side chat there, both I and Angelo had that on our list as well. So it's a popular one.
I kind of assumed that somebody was going to take him beforehand. So, he's a good one, though. It's a really good progression because you start with this totally normal human that just slowly turns into a morphed pile of insect goo.
Yeah, and it's so tragic somehow.
You know what? I don't think I cry during that many movies, but with The Fly, I'm like, oh gosh.
Aw.
I don't know what to cry more: the fly's fate, Brundlefly's fate, or of course, the hair of everyone involved. I do love the
Gina
comment.
Davis.
Yeah, poor
Gina Davis was rocking it in that movie.
Yeah, if
Okay.
anyone survived their haircut from that movie, it was Gina Davis.
Yep.
I
So-
love Sean's comment from the chat here, which is that pic of Goldblum gave young Sean things to ponder.
Yeah. That's that thoughts in motion that Billy Zane and the Phantom cemented.
All right. I'm not going to kink shame.
Insane in the brain.
From our lovely chatters. Bye. We're going to do a little catch up. Mikey is glad to add where-precan to his lexicon. Save that rhyme for the next time we rhyme and do rap battles. And Kadau says that I just discovered that the original Michael Myers mask is a slight alteration of a William Shatner mask manufactured by the same studio that manufactured the Tabanga.
John goes
Wow.
everybody.
That info.
The more you know.
This is why we do this live.
Yeah, if you can make a rainbow appear across the screen, that would be a good time.
My brain just grew 3 sizes.
Can I make a rainbow appear across the stream? Well, close enough.
Man, I'm really gonna have a drink after this.
All right.
People can tell me anything.
Angelo, it's your turn. You have the Davis baby and the Borg Queen, and who else?
This one, sadly, is not as sexy as the Borg Queen or as alarming as the Davis baby. Or maybe it's more alarming, actually. It's Killer Bob from Twin Peaks.
Hey!
I figured I had to go with at least one of those, like the scariest monster is the human or the mundane thing living in the bedroom. So I think the story has it. There are a couple of stories, and I'm not sure exactly how the two stories intersect, but I think one of the stories for how this monster, who is really just a human, who is a set dresser by the name of Frank Silva, one of the stories behind this character was that he accidentally got trapped in a shot, and he was like trapped somewhere in one of Laura Palmer's bedroom sets, and David Lynch heard that he was trapped and pictured him sort of trapped behind her bed between the bars of the iron on her bed, which you see there in truly the most terrifying moment from Twin Peaks. I think the other story is that he saw the dailies and he was like caught in a mirror reflection and he wasn't meant to be in the shot, and he was just so eerie that he decided to write him a character. But he's like had all sorts of origins. It's David Lynch, so his origin story is not terribly clear and straightforward, but I think the clearest origin story we're given is that he's some creature from another realm who appears in the Black Lodge, and he's created from like the evil of humanity, and he like feeds on pain and suffering, and he possesses people and he turns them into the most evil versions of themselves. And because it's Lynch, he like, he's connected to doppelgangers, and he's like lurking within these mundane safe spaces like bedrooms and so on and so forth. And he's just like really fucking scary, but like has no makeup and is just dressed the way he was presumably dressed that day on set. And because it's David Lynch, he also gets a nice, like, sweet, heartwarming send-off in the return for some reason, even though he's like the manifestation of pure evil. Even Bob gets like a strangely touching send-off in the 3rd season.
All right, Killer Bob.
That image
Nice.
is truly terrifying.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
this
The
man
shot
looking-
of Bob coming out of the TV is like one of the scariest things I've ever seen in Twin Peaks.
Oh,
Yeah.
man. I gotta watch that.
Sure, it says
Yes,
we
you
used to go
do.
we used to go to North Bend, Washington for clothes when I was a kid, and only years later learned I had been shopping in Twin Peaks. Kadau asks, how was the pie? And Jared says, we were too poor to get it.
Oh.
Which is not, I don't know. I guess it landed funny, but it's sad.
Well, they were shopping, so I don't feel too bad for him. They spent all their money on sweet clothes.
Yeah, they spent money on sweet clothes and damn fine coffee.
There you go. In historic Twin Peaks, Washington. Nadia says, yes, the shot with Bob climbing over the sofa towards the camera. Terrifying.
Oh man.
Update. The clothes were tragically not sweet, which I kind of assumed from North Bend, Washington, but I don't want to be judgy. All right. We have one more pick to go through in addition to the critters and Pumpkinhead. Adam, what do you got for us?
Well, I for one, I've decided to choose the sexiest monster chosen so far, and I'm aware that the Leprechaun was chosen, but I feel like I can offer some competition. Obviously, the Warwick Davis Leprechaun only, but yes, I decided to go with variety with my monster, and who offers more variety than Godzilla, aka Godzilla? Who can be menacing, who can be terrifying, who can be funny, who can represent any number of things. Like in the first film, he is, an allegory for dropping the bomb on Japan. But in a later movie, and indeed the picture I've chosen that'll pop up on the screen momentarily, he is actually a demon that represents every single person who died in World War II coming back because the people of Japan have forgotten about them.
Oh.
You have so much variety with such a simple concept. And that's one of the things that draws me to monsters is, okay, how can you keep reinventing them? And they have such a great time reinventing Godzilla or Gojira or Godzilla over and over again.
That's one I have seen.
Hey.
It's a good movie.
I knew you'd be picking that one, Adam.
I had to. There were
Down
so
on my
many
list.
though on my list. There were so many.
I know.
It was
We will get to that in a second. But first, yes, anybody want to talk about Godzilla a little bit more?
He's a good guy.
Yes.
I was gonna say he's doing stuff, Godzilla stuff.
He's got an amazing song written about him.
Yes,
He's a
but-
good dad, we
Oh.
find out. He's a good dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
a good mom, depending
Or a good
on
mom.
which one
Depending
you
on how
see.
you perceive
Hard to
it.
say.
Yeah.
Godzilla knows no
Um,
race, gender, or boundaries.
It's because his genitals rotted off years ago.
Well, we've learned this earlier. This episode. All right.
One of the things I'm so fascinated with with Southeastern culture in particular is just the way that monsters can come from so many different sources and mean so many different things. So it's no surprise that Godzilla just continually morphs into meaning, sometimes, the spirit of vengeance, sometimes a protector of the land, sometimes, someone who does the safety dance. I mean, it's
True, yeah.
Yeah, there's just so many possibilities.
That's what's great is that, like, if I decide to watch a Godzilla movie, maybe I'll see something really cool and see Godzilla fight the great Biollante. But maybe I just want to see Godzilla take flight in Godzilla versus the Smog Monster.
All right. Excellent. Well, you've made your choices. We'll be sending you off in just a moment to go live in my my crazy old uncle's haunted abandoned mansion with them for a week. But before then, we are going to bring out your undead. We're going to talk about the picks that you had that you didn't get to talk about. What else was on your mind? Sarah, you gave us the Cryptkeeper, Sarah Chamberlain, you gave us the Cryptkeeper, Pyramid Head from Silent Hill, and Leprechaun from 9,000 Leprechaun movies, but not that one. What else was on your mind, monster-wise?
Well, the next on my list was the Predator, because clearly I can't get enough of like hunky monsters with no faces. And then Brundlefly and the Thing, because don't even get me started on the Thing. Frankenstein's monster, of course, and Godzilla, two classics. Cenobites, just Cenobites in general. And hey, everyone, remember when zombies were scary?
No.
It's been so long.
Yeah, exactly.
Was there a particular zombie you were excited by, or do
No, just
you like the slow ones or the fast
Zombies.
ones?
I prefer slow zombies.
Okay.
But,
Yeah, you're a traditionalist. I understand.
Yeah, don't give
A
it.
purist.
Yeah, that's a whole
Yeah, like
article.
Mom
on
would
it.
have made.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you prefer the undead zombies or the hypnotized zombies?
See, that's exactly it. There's such an amazing array of zombies that before they turned into a show just advertising the top 40, like a show that exists just to show top 40s music and like people making ugly cry face. They were good.
Do you prefer Rob Zombie or the Cranberries Zombie?
What
Rob
about
Alderman.
Rob Zombie doing the Cranberries zombie?
Well, that sweet day should come soon if it hasn't already.
Oh,
Before we move on, I'm going to say if you are watching this live and you'd like to comment one of the monsters that we missed, please do, and we'll read it out at the end. And thank you for doing that. Sean, you gave us the Tingler from the Tingler, Kasa-obake
did.
from Spook Warfare, and Tabanga from Hell It Came. What else has been on your mind?
Well, knowing that I have to live with them in a house, in a scary house, I think I chose well. I just have to scream and occasionally wake up and move a couple feet to get away from the Tabanga. And, you know, the Kasa-obake, we'll cuddle. It's fine. I could use a lick now and then. Hey-o. But I was also thinking about the Daimajin from the 3-movie series. Daimajin is my favorite kaiju of them all because he's basically angry because someone pounded a nail in his head.
Hey,
They got
cool.
3 movies out of it. So there's also a zombie of my own, Bub from Day of the Dead. It's one of the best zombies ever. The Babadook.
Ooh.
The monster that challenged the world
Ah.
because it's a shit monster and it only kind of bothered a boat. Dr. Fibes. So Vincent Price. Wishmaster, but only the Wishmaster of the first 2 movies. After Divoff left, it's not Wishmaster.
Yeah, div off only.
Yeah. And Gigan.
Yay!
Because it's one of the most absurd designs, and I love it.
All right. Excellent. Let's see. Sarah Walsh, you gave us Pennywise from It, Bad Milo from Bad Milo, and Brundlefly from The Fly. 2 sexy and 1 not so sexy. I hope. I don't want to kink
That's
shame,
what you're
but
into.
this is about as close as I will to kink shaming if you're into the butt demon. I don't know.
well,
Anyway,
I
what
mean,
else have you got
listen,
for us?
Whatever floats your boat.
Yeah.
Some of the things on the cutting floor were Jerry Dandridge from Fright Night.
Ooh.
Not technically a monster, but not human, so I thought it counted.
Ooh, yes.
Goodoo or Badu?
Goodoo, very goodoo. Fright Night rules.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised that you didn't pick that, actually.
Yeah.
I said Ginger Fitzgerald.
Sorry, what?
Oh,
Sarah's lost to
from
time.
Ginger Snaps, the Ginger Snap series.
Oh,
Oh,
Nice.
am I back yet?
you're back.
Okay, I said Ginger Fitzgerald from Ginger Snaps when she's becoming the scary werewolf. Alien, the xenomorph, because I thought that was pretty neat in the whole progression. Cenobites was also on my backup list, so I'm glad that me and Scare Sarah didn't actually have to fight over that one. I said I also like the Blob.
Yay!
There's something about like scary chewing gum becoming sentient. And I also said, once again, not technically a monster, but it was on my backup list if I had to, replicants.
Oh.
Yep.
Nice.
They're not human. That's my argument. They're not human, and they're ethically like on the fence.
And one of them is Brian James, so you know they're scary.
All right. Very
One of
good.
them
Very.
Rutger Hauer, so you know they're sexy.
That's also true. Oh, it's a thin line we've learned if we didn't know it already. Angelo, you had the Davis baby, the Borg Queen, and Killer Bob. What else have you been thinking about?
To follow up from the xenomorph, I would go with the facehugger, which I think is even scarier
Ooh.
somehow. Xenomorph is like maybe the better design of the monsters, but facehugger is like you don't expect it. Mothra to pair nicely with Godzilla, I think. Also a good mom, just looking after her kids, but she's got her reasons. In lieu of Brundlefly, I'd offer the Brood, the titular Brood from the Brood, these snowsuit-clad rage monsters who come up every time their mother has a dark thought. What else did I have? I also had the Babadook. I'm glad someone got to the Babadook, who I think is like the closest successor to the Cryptkeeper we have. Similar like camp energy. I feel like the Cryptkeeper probably also has that jaunty hat somewhere in his closet.
Definitely.
Yeah, and that's my backup list. Although I feel like we could look into Batman Rogues Gallery, like the Clayface, the Penguin. There are lots of monsters kicking around in there. Misunderstood sweet BBs.
Yep.
For another day.
All right. Excellent. And Adam, Clarke, what else has been keeping you up at night?
Well, I'll get to the ones that are on my wall. First, I had Gillman, the creature from the Black Lagoon, who I have hung up on my wall. I love Gillman. He loves abducting ladies, but more importantly, like a cat, he loves knocking stuff over. So he is great. And furthermore, I also have the Shape. So you can see a painting of Michael Myers just behind me. What I love about the Shape is that unlike the feminine energy of Freddy Krueger and the hyper-masculine energy of Jason Voorhees, the Shape is somewhere ethereal and beautiful and somewhere in between, which I absolutely adore. I had the Ghoulies. Because you get variety. You got cat ghoulie, you got rat ghoulie, you got toilet ghoulie. I did have Jerry Dandridge. I had the Stepfather.
No, yeah.
Terry O'Quinn, baby. No
Terry
one's
O'Quinn.
scarier.
It's true. Doesn't even need makeup. Just yeah.
And of course, I also had the Cryptkeeper.
Yes, of course. And I forgot to list your new roommates, but they are the Critters, Pumpkinhead, and Godzilla. So that should be pretty fun.
What a
fun
great
party.
combo. Imagine if
I
Godzilla was walking around, but he had a bunch of critters hanging off his spines, and Pumpkinhead was his man in Hong Kong.
All right, let me read out some of the viewer comments. Some of them are agreeing with things that you've brought up recently. Jared says it's Pride Month. You got to include the Babadook in this panel. Glad that the Babadook got mentioned. And this is actually a little bit old, but I still want to put it out there. Mikey said, "Does Rob Zombie have a Patreon, and is him covering Zombie a tier reward?" That's a good question. We'll send the megaphonic intern out to find it. Oh wait, that's Mikey. Nadia says the sexually transmitted demon from It Follows. Like Killer Bob, the It Follows demon is terror in the shape of a regular person. Very good choice. Mikey's been saying replicants. I've been typing and deleting Roy Batty for the last couple minutes. I mean, he's somewhat Frankenstein's monster translated. Very true.
Yeah, see, he argued that way better than I did.
We've got from Kadow, I would go with the Terminator, arguing that the original movie counts as horror, even though the later ones were just action. Actually, I haven't seen the original one. I know I should, but
you should.
For real?
I don't see a lot of movies, to be fair. And finally, Jared said the sentient-ish house from The Haunting. I would argue counts as a monster, but mostly I want to shoehorn Shirley Jackson into everything.
Cue Homer Simpson throwing the lottery into the fireplace.
I've read The Haunting, the book, The Haunting of Hill House, or whatever that's called, but I haven't seen the movie.
Oh, I adore the book. I adore
the
it.
book is so fun.
Yeah.
Adam, I can't believe either of us didn't pick Revik from Scanners.
I know.
Or
So good.
Mary Lou from Prom
Oh! I forgot all about Mary Lou. One thing on my list that I didn't mention is I had the slasher from Curtains, the old hag.
Oh, so good.
Well, sadly, there's no place to hear the two of you talking about some of those last picks. You certainly couldn't go to megaphonic.fm and then click on the big red Canadian flag with a skull in the middle of it to go to a part of our Scare-itage. Thank you, two, for helping to organize this panel and for bringing a little bit of monster delight into all of our lives. I'd like to thank all of our panelists, Sarah Chamberlain, Sean Frost, Sarah Walsh, Angelo Muredda, Adam Clarke. I've been your host, Chris Piuma. We'll be back next week with some new picks to pick. And that's it. Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you.
I'm so excited to snuggle up with the monsters tonight.
I've got one of every size. I've got tiny critters, I've got a human-sized Pumpkinhead, and I got a Godilla.
But will they lick you?
Godzilla licks will be painful. They'll be radioactive.
The funny thing is, I'd say that some of the most of the monsters that we all picked, aside from Sean, are like genuinely scary. But Sean's creatures are the ones I would last want to be stuck in a room with. They're also like, I feel like I'd have just the worst night.
Bye.